this one?
Welcome to Your Capital What's Up. I'm Chuck Wiger, your area state senator. Thank you very much for watching. Today I'm very pleased to have as our special guest Rick Currie. Rick is a lifelong resident of Maplewood. He's been involved in a number of activities in the community. Among things, he is the vice chair of the Heritage Preservation Commission, and he's an incredible volunteer right here at the Suburban Community Channel studio. We're going to touch on those activities. Rick, welcome to our show.
Welcome, Jerry. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. Now, lifelong resident of Maplewood. Tell us where you were born.
I was born in the same house that I'm in now. My dad owned it.
Where's that located approximately?
In Maplewood, right across the street from the Forest Lawn Cemetery.
Okay.
They're only going to move me across the street when I go.
Okay.
So I'll be in Maplewood for eternity. I even have my gravestone marked.
So obviously as deep as roots can be.
Right.
And so when did your parents move to Maplewood?
They moved in about 1937.
Okay, so well before Maplewood
Maplewood
was incorporated, Little Canada.
It was New Little
and
Canada.
Yes.
My dad actually owned 4 lots to the north, the house, and then 4 other lots there before he sold them off to other people that were willing to buy lots at that time.
Wonderful. And do you recall why he initially came to Maplewood?
Well, he was born up in Scotland. The family moved to Winnipeg.
Okay.
And from Winnipeg, they came down. My one aunt got married and brought the rest of the family down here. And he was and once he got married and had his sister. I have a sister in San Diego now.
Mm-hmm.
And then they split. His first wife split, and he married my mom. So that then I came along.
Okay.
And I was 5 when he passed away. So do I remember him? Yeah, I remember a little bit. But he used to take me down to the farm at the end of the street, and he took me out and we watched 36 being built.
Okay, Highway 36.
Yes.
And there was a farm. There was a lot of farms.
Farms
back then.
out there. The house actually is on the Zerker farm.
Okay.
Originally.
And for our viewers, tell us that intersection approximately for the Zerker farm.
The Zerker farm ran from about Roselawn to Skillman, and Arcade, somewhere to Lee, I think, or maybe even farther than that.
Okay. And what type of farm was it?
That was a dairy, basically a dairy farm, from what I heard.
Okay.
And
but you have memories of visiting the farm growing up?
Right, but that farm was basically gone. The original farmhouse is still there. It's right on the corner of Roselawn and Arcade, behind the little service station there. The farm that I went down to was on County Road B. It used to be called the Metropolitan Dairy.
Okay.
He had, at one time, 60 herd of cows. He farmed up until about 65. then he moved across, his brother had married, and he moved across the street with his brother when they sold the farm, and they still have it, and that's where United Methodist Church built. And he lived till he was 98 years old.
Wow.
His father lived till he was 100.
Okay.
And his other brother lived till he was 106.
Okay. And you said Scotland?
My dad was from Scotland.
Okay.
My dad was 57 when he passed away
Okay.
of cancer.
Okay. Well, anyway, deep roots in the area. Would you like to share a few memories growing up in Maplewood, and tell us where you went to school as well?
Well, this part of Maple, where I am, we're actually in Roseville School District.
Yes.
So I walked every day to Edgerton School. And then
For the
from
viewers, if you're west of Highway 61,
61,
then you're in the Roseville district.
right. And we went to Edgerton. I had to walk. If I was a block east of there, I could have had the bus take me. But after Edgerton, we went to Capitol View and then to Kellogg. And Kellogg, I graduated in '72. We just had our all-school reunion.
Okay. Any memories you'd like to share, Rick, growing up as you went to school? Fond memories of Maplewood?
Well, growing up, school, it was always that long, cold walk because you had that cemetery the wind would go through. But after that, I ended up joining the fire department of Maplewood, which was...
Which which branch there?
The fire department at that time was Parks. I was in the Parkside Fire Department. I was on there for 13 years, had memorable moments. One of the first medical runs was when the Zerker boy hit a tree, a car accident. And another one was when the Commodore Hotel blew up in St. Paul. We got called in on that one.
Okay.
I was captain and building manager for Parkside for about 6 years after I got on.
Okay. Take us now from after high school. What was that journey?
After high school, I went out to 916.
Okay.
They
916 being the vocational school.
Vocational school at that time, they were just starting.
Okay.
I took building maintenance and operations, and they were where the North St. Paul Legion Club is now. That used to be a grocery store.
Yes.
And we were in there. We were pulling wire, and our teacher
Was it Kroger's, or what was it called?
that
I remember the grocery. Of course, we all remember Kindles, but
was it that, or was it Apple Bombs, or one of the?
Okay, we know their history.
But we were pulling wire. My instructor his father was on the Roseville School District,
Okay.
which was Dave Seberg. We got into that building at the end of the day, and we were pulling electrical wire, and he got himself, he put a screwdriver where he shouldn't have put it, and he got zapped right across the arm. He burned his hand a little bit because he got before the fuses. We called him Sparky after that. He had gray hair. And then he was one other class he was teaching us how about the capacitors. And he says, no, you don't want to touch this one. And he didn't mean to touch it, but he hit it again. About a year difference, and his name kept on going, Sparky.
Yeah, well, it's dangerous.
Yes.
You've got to know what you're doing. That's why you go to school, or you learn through experience by others that can teach you.
So from there, I went to, worked in the Roseville School District for about 13 years, left them, and now I'm out at Twin City Nursery working. Plus, I've started my own business of landscaping. And I got on the Historical Commission, about 2001 or so. I'm a lifetime member of the society, which the society when I got on, were just working to get the Broomtrump Farm moved over to where it is at present time.
And during this whole time, you've continued in the same house
that
you were raised in.
Right.
And family, like to share anything about that in terms of?
Well, I grew up, I took care of my mom for up until she passed away,
Okay, good for you.
and that was in 2001. I had a brother-in-law and an aunt's sister pass all at within a month of each other. Plus, I had the dog. I handled all them fine. It got to the dog. When the dog, I come home one night and I says, "Now don't you leave me."
Okay.
And she jumped up in my arms and passed out or expired right
The dog's
there.
name?
Was Cinders.
Okay.
And of course, me being a first aider, I went up in my attic and got my stethoscope, come down, and as I was coming down the steps, I rolled down the steps.
Ooh.
11:30 at night, called my sister was here in Minnesota. My sister and I were real close. And I says, it would have been really something to have somebody come in and find a dead dog in the living room and me curled up at the bottom of the steps.
Yes.
But I didn't get hurt. Life went on, and now I have a beautiful granddaughter, and my sister just passed away.
Okay, you have the
from Alzheimer's.
granddaughter, so you have a son?
I have a son.
Yes.
Well, I was 3 weeks from getting married, and stuff happened, but
Yeah, no, it does. Where is your son now?
he was adopted out when he was a baby. In fact, his mother actually worked at St. Jerome's
Okay.
before she adopted him. I didn't know this until
Yeah.
after the thing, and we're still working on that relationship. It's tough to get. He looks exactly like me. The night that he was born, the Parkside had a retirement party for D. Rocker and another person at Burke. I was put on standby crew. We had 5 medical runs that night. None of them went to the hospital that my son was born at.
Ooh.
And I didn't have enough seniority on the fire department to get the truck to stop.
Okay.
To stop at the hospital. We went by it 3 times.
Okay.
So I did see him when he was a baby, and when he was a baby, I told him to look me up when he got older, and he did.
Okay.
So
And the grandchild is how old?
she's 10 now.
Okay.
So she has some of his traits and my traits in her. She's bullheaded just like her grandfather at times.
Okay. Well, they're a little Scottish heritage, perhaps.
Yes, in there.
But there's many very positive
Yeah, and
attributes there,
her
too.
mother is also a little bit Scottish, so there's a little bit more Scottish than probably should be in there, I think, with the temperament that she can do.
Okay.
But no, on the commission,
Now
No.
talking about the Heritage, Maplewood Heritage Preservation
Preservation
Commission,
Commission.
and you've been on that for how long?
since about 2002, 2001, somewhere in there.
Okay. And the city on their website, an excellent website, it describes a lot of the various commissions and who's on. In fact, there's an email address, I believe, if anyone wants to contact you. But overall, just in regular language, tell us, what does the commission do? What are the main
The commission
activities?
is trying to preserve the heritage and tradition of Maplewood so that they don't tear everything down, or at least get the history of people that know. They're doing oral interviews with people. We've gone through and they've noted all the 100-year-old homes.
Okay.
The last since
Are there
2000.
very many 100-year-old homes? In
Yes, there are
Maplewood?
quite a few 100-year homes in Maple. There's a whole booklet of the homes and what have you. In 2007, the commission was granted to do the 50th year celebration, which basically the commission planned all the events, and we had something for every month of the year.
Yes.
So that it kept going. Well, then after that, we started working on our heritage preservation ordinance. And we wanted to make the ordinance so it wasn't restricted to anybody. It was more of a volunteer. If you wanted to put your house or property, get it recognized, to get it. Because there is, through the state, if we become a certified historical city, there's funding, grant money, for people to apply for, to fix their, or to do stuff in their homes, and or the city to get grants to do historical things in the city. Well, it took us 2 years to get it through, and with the shutdown that the state just went through, it took a little bit longer because everything got put on the back burner. At our last, we didn't have our last meeting because we didn't have a quorum, but I had heard, I was going to announce it at that time, that the state has come through and certified that our ordinance is in line and we can go ahead. I talked to the mayor on Friday, and I guess he has signed it. So now it goes back to the DNR for the final approval, because they have to go to the National Park Service to get it approved, so that within the next, who knows how long, we will have a working historical ordinance in Maplewood.
Good.
We have 2 properties right now on the historical preservation list, which are the Ramsey County Poor Farm, the barn, which is also on the National Registry. That's the only one in Maplewood that's on the National Registry, and the Brood Trump Farm.
Okay.
Our charge now for the state, we have to add 1 property every year for it.
And I might just say the wonderful work that the volunteers have done. For Bruntrup Farm, where I see you at nearly every event they have. If I can get there, and at the Poor Farm, as it had been called, but at the now as it's been
Ramsey County Barn.
Yes, but the trails that go behind the care center, where they have all the different plaques, and they talk about the history of what happened, and so it's very nice that that's all available when you walk on that path, and you can read about different excerpts in history.
Plus, they wanted, at one point, the county was going to expand that horseshoe pit on the north side.
Yes.
Well, they can't do that because that's the cemetery.
The cemetery.
So that we've got it marked now. The up and coming thing, we worked on the Gladstone or Frost Avenue Bridge. We got 2 of the 3 things we wanted on that done. And now the commission is working on the Gladstone Savannah, which was the old St. Paul Duluth Railroad yard. They still have the foundation for the roundhouse in there and for all the buildings. And they also have, we've located the well. We've requested the city to do a inventory
in the open space area,
Right.
which had been protected after the voters approved the
thing.
bond issue several
And
years
we
back.
want to get that property on the historical preservation list, because the parks want to just put trails in. Well, if they go and bulldoze something, that I have a feeling there's money there for to improve it to be historically significant, because it's historically significant in 2 facets. One, because it was the railroad yard way back, and 2, it was one of the first Maplewood open spaces properties that was bought.
It was. Okay. And tell us again why it is so important, to preserve history.
Well, if you don't preserve it, it's lost. People don't realize how much history there is in any community, really. You can go to any place. Oh, yeah, it's today, but what happened yesterday is history.
And the volunteers that serve on the commission with you, they share the passion that you have,
Yeah.
and
And
I'm sure
there's-
for viewers that are watching, if they'd like to learn more about
More.
the activities, they could
Come in.
contact you or go to a meeting.
Yep, we meet right now on the second Thursday of the month at 7 o'clock. We're televised on Channel 16 in Maplewood. And we're from all parts of the city. The next, we have a couple other spots that we want to get on this list, and one is the ski jump down in the lower Maplewood by Battle Creek,
yes.
and the Fish Creek corridor. From what I've heard, the city has basically come up with some funding and have purchased that property.
Yes, that has come together very nicely, and there's a
And-
few more pieces to the puzzle, but it's
It'll
going to
come.
happen.
Yes. So it's
Preserving a
preserving
wonderful area.
Yeah, and the Broomtrump Farm, you get out there, and right now you can go out. We have open houses. They did an interpretive center. We have to realize though, the commission we're operating on the city function. The farm, the society is their city, but they're a group of their own, because I don't want to I get my foot slammed in my mouth all the time because the city likes to put the two of them together, and we're not. We're
They're
two
separate, but you work closely together,
We're
and you
working.
share the same passion for
Right.
Maplewood and history, and especially what can be done to further advance the memories. There's a lot of elbow grease involved too in what you do.
Yes, most of the people don't realize that, the city, basically the buildings were donated by the Broomtrops and moved, but the volunteers have done all the maintenance, basically, work, and it really has not cost the city that much to do, because it's all volunteer work that's getting the stuff done. They just got done building the machine shed,
Yes.
and they got the building, because they moved it, they had to bring it up to fire code, which is sprinkler system.
Yeah.
So now they're actually renting for weddings and what have you.
Is there a particular activity, Rick, that you enjoy the most? And in addition to going to the meetings, but there's in between meetings.
You got the Johnny
work?
Appleseed. If you look at the posters, that's me sitting on the tractor. I'm
Okay.
tractor driver all the
So
time.
tractor driver,
Right.
for Johnny Appleseed. That's high on the list.
That's
for
high.
when I-
Plus, I'm on the interpretive committee that's there, and the activity committee, and the buildings and grounds out there. So I mean, I don't have any time to spare at home.
Okay. Well, you can at
Plus,
least you can go to
being
sleep.
out here too.
And here we are. You're on the other side
Of the camera, which I'm not generally too comfortable with.
But
I produce my own TV show with one and the same with Gary Bastian and Judge Judy Tilson and Bob Cardinal.
yes,
I do
you do several shows. I bet.
Bob
How
Cardinal.
long have you been involved in cable
It's
work?
about 2001.
2001, and hundreds of hours.
Yeah, I'm two.
As a volunteer,
Yeah,
basically.
I have
helping.
370 shows on one and the same. Jerry has 150.
Jerry Markey.
Markey
Yes.
has 100 and some. So that's 400, almost 500 hours out here. Plus, I've done your show
Yes, you've
a few
helped
times.
us, and we've appreciated that so much.
I do art trends. If I'm not in studio, a lot of times I'm out on the truck on Channel 19. I do Oakdale's Concert in the Park with, one big name that everybody knows is Rocky Lynn. I had Rocky Lynn scheduled to come to one of our Tastes of Maplewood one
okay.
year. And he's still asking me if I could do what we're going to do something. And I'm thinking in the back of my head that it might be nice to have them at the farm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still got that in the back of my brain, and he gave me my gold star for doing my shows back in 2007.
Wonderful. What's it like when you're in the control room? Here we are, behind the camera, but obviously there's a lot of work that goes on in getting this.
When you're in
all the buttons to push, and
when
mic
everything
checks
goes right, it's like a cakewalk. When stuff goes wrong, everybody sees this nice, calm collective out here. Back in the control room, it can be chaos.
Yeah, well, they're doing a good job.
Yeah,
and
it looks like it.
We'll note that we have Tim Kinley and also Chelsea Megadance, and we also have our next guest getting ready as well, Mark Jenkins. So we appreciate the efforts that are being done there and the hundreds of hours that you have put in as a volunteer. Anything you'd like to share about being a volunteer for suburban community channels that
Come
you've
on
enjoyed
out.
the most?
We can always use help. You can put on whatever show you want to put on. You get to meet an awful lot of people. On Wednesdays, every other Wednesday, I do Sports Bath, which is in the government side of the thing. You go out and do basketball games, concerts.
What do you like doing the most? You lit up when you talked about the Oakdale Band Shelter. That's really a great event.
All the different entertainment that normally you'd end up paying an arm and a leg for, you can go out and do it for nothing. There's talk of us going to the Metrodome to do some shows at the high school playoffs. So I did the homecoming for White Bear.
Yes, well, you are in demand. You're very competent, dependable, and we know how much the viewers have appreciated those efforts too. So I see you're giving a signal in the control room.
I'm trying to get them
get ready
because I'm going
wrap
to
up
sneak out of
because
here.
You're going to multitask and actually
and
close
get
the
their
show.
thing going. So
But before we bid adieu, Rick, would you like to just sum it up for us in terms of your living in Maplewood? How's the ride been?
it's been very interesting. In fact, I grew up by the first mayor of Maplewood, who was Lubin.
Waldo Baldy Lubin. I had a chance to meet him, actually.
And his property actually was donated to the city, and they were going to make an arboretum out of it, a sculpture garden and what have you. It was supposed to go on through in '67. It's still sitting there with nothing done to it. And I guess it went to the county, and that's where it stayed. So
well, maybe there's some potential.
And nobody knows about it, but I have all these paperwork from back then where it says this was supposed to have been done in '67.
And one thing I remember when I met Waldo, or Baldy, as they called him, the first mayor, if people are wondering why they came up with the maple leaf, Maplewood, well, he actually had a maple tree in his backyard, and he took a leaf, and it was actually a leaf from the maple tree in Baldy Lubin's backyard. So
yeah, it was. Plus, he was in the nursery business.